Yeah, there's a couple people without. Let the love of the brethren continue, and that's what we try to do here in Barnabas Group. It's a group. We're trying to be groupy. We're trying to know each other. We're trying to know how to pray for each other, and the reason is because that is what encourages us to go out during the week. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by this some have entertained angels without knowing it. Remember the prisoners as though in prison with them, and those who are ill-treated, since you yourself also are in the body. So let's look at this. How many commandments do we got here? Count them for yourself. Just quietly, slowly, count the commandments that you see here. That's not to yourself. Don't say anything. Just come up. Just fine. You got. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll help you. Help us. Love one another. Let the love of the brethren continue. That's the first commandment in Hebrews chapter 13. And then it says, show hospitality. Now wait a minute. I just want you to know something. That's not all it says. We should show hospitality, and we do that. We have friends over, and that's sweet. That's very nice. And we have parties. We do all that kind of thing. And you're so hospitable when you're here. That's really nice. That's not the commandment, folks. Ready? Here's the commandment. So if you just thought, well, hey, I've got to be hospitable. And I do that with my friends. I mean, I think I have some good friends, and we do what we call hospitality checks, where we just show up unannounced at the house. Hospitality check. Aren't you glad you're not that close to me? Hey, who said that? Show hospitality, and we do that, and that's kind of fun, but that's not what this is talking about, because what did I leave out? Very good. It's hospitality to strangers. When there's somebody new in the class and needed. Did we make you feel, were we friendly at all? Yeah, it's okay? It's okay, Joel?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but at the beginning I noticed you were sitting there alone. And so I was going, all right, come on. And well, we know Joel's a stranger. Look at me. Oh, yeah. Not a stranger. All right, but the point is, show hospitality to strangers. To strangers. You got to work that out however you do it in your own life, because the verse is not be nice to one another when you're here. The verse is be nice to those you don't even know. How do you do that? There's a lot of different ways. Yeah, it's a hand.
What do you do when you're living alone, all you got is a cat, this guy comes to
That's a good. Ask it again.
I said, what do you do when you're living all by yourself, except for the cat? And this guy comes to the door, like when I gave him my Bible last week. He says, can I have your phone number so I can call you and ask you questions? I didn't give him my number. So
Give him Dennis's number.
Yeah, you can do that. That's great. Give him Dennis's number. All right. Well, we could,
is there any guy in here that would give me his phone number so I can give it to this bus?
I have just been asked my phone number. This is the first time I've been asked my phone number by a woman in ages. This is incredible. Karen, may I? Only to Elaine. All right, yeah. We'll make sure you have a number, but that's a good question. Yes.
I think we have a phone number that potentially we could share that's the church's phone number that potentially, if the person had a question, that they could speak to a church leader.
Yeah, maybe so. I love it when, call the church, then press 3, then press 2, then press 1, and then, I don't know how that works. But maybe that works, I don't know. But certainly I would love to talk with anybody, yeah.
It's dinner. I will let them know, tell them that I said yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Yes, Bunny.
A quick answer is direct them to Jeff or Jim Slaney, who are Eastside's outreach department.
Yeah, we have an outreach pastor. That's right. That's great. Especially that. Now listen. But we're all outreach pastors. But they're doing it now.
I call Jim Slaney the Bible answer man. That man
Bible
knows
answer
the
man.
word.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he's not in this class. Oh man. All right. Then it says, remember those who are prisoners. All right, and it's not, remember those who are prisoners. It's a commandment to remember those. And remember, folks, there are people all over the world today who are in jail because of their faith. Now, those of you who have been in prison ministries, you have people that you know of to pray for, to remember those who are there whose faith needs to grow because you put a spark of faith in their life. And so you need to be praying for those people as you do that. But we as believers know that all over the world Christians are being persecuted and they're being put in prison and they're being beaten and they're being killed. And so remember the prisoners. Remember the prisoners. Yes, Margaret. Yeah, there's some horrible stories about what goes on with those who are political prisoners and religious prisoners in China. And so it is something that we... What is the verse? Remember the prisoners. It just opens up your prayer life. All right? Something more to pray about. Number 4, remember the ill-treated. Remember the prisoners, but it's not everybody that's actually in jail. Some of the people are just persecuted. They're just treated poorly in these other countries. Remember them as well. They don't have to go to jail to get your prayer. They just need to open their mouth and try to spread the word of the Lord. Home and Jenny, they're persecuted many times. They're not in jail yet, but they are treated poorly in that society. All right, so remember the ill-treated. So there we go, right there in those few verses. 4 commandments. All right, there's actually 20 commandments in Hebrews chapter 13, and we're going to go through them all right now. Let marriage be held in honor among all. Let the marriage bed be undefiled. For fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Let your character be free from the love of money, being content with what you have. For he himself has said, well, he has said, I'll come back to this, all right? I mean, wasn't it, as we go through these, there's 20 examples, 20 witnessing clips on here. It's amazing how many people, they're just so free when Ray Comfort is talking with them. Well, Ray as well as Kirk Cameron also does this. Yeah. How free people are just willing to admit, yeah, I'm an adulterer, folks, it's just out there. And what this verse says, let marriage bed be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled. Let marriage be held in honor among all. Marriage, by the way, marriage. Prop 8, folks. Let marriage be held in honor. And when we make marriage by law to be something that God did not intend, we're not honoring marriage. And so we need to, well, as Christians, we need to strive against or for Prop 8. Prop 8 was the one that said, hey, marriage is between a husband and a wife. Not,
a man and a wife.
Man and a woman, rather, not between something else. Let marriage be held in honor. Let the marriage bed be undefiled. Fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Let your character be free from the love of money, being content with what you have. For he himself has said, now I'm going to ask you about what are the reasons you're supposed to be content with what you have. We'll get to that later. I mean, that's an interesting teaching bit, but let's talk about the commandments so far. Number 5, honor marriage. We do that by fighting against what is going on. No adultery. Which commandment? 7th commandment. 7th commandment, no adultery. Number 7, be free from the love of money. I mean, loving money is actually, what we're doing here is you're being covetous. If you love money, it means you just love having more of your, and so that's the 10th commandment. Right there.
The first one too.
And the first, well, that's very good. That's very good. It's also the second one. So you could actually say the love of money is a violation. Worship God,
It's the root of all evil.
The love of money is the root of all evil. In other words, worship only God. Some will worship money. Some make money an idol, and they worship it. They judge people by money. So that's commandment number 1. Commandment number 2. Commandment number 10. Thou shalt not covet. So anyway, it's very good. That's a lot more than what I thought of. All right, so now we're down to 8 commandments in Hebrews chapter 13 so far. By the way, what promises from God and truths about life help us be content with what we have? Here's what Jesus said. Promises from God. Don't let your lives be free from the love of money. Why? I will never leave you. Well, I'm talking about the verses that are there in Hebrews. We could think of 100 different reasons, but the actual verses from Hebrews that are given there in Hebrews. Let your life be content with what you have, because I will never leave you nor forsake you.
Amen.
Secondly, the Lord is my helper, and I will not be afraid.
Amen.
Number 3, what can man do to me anyway? Take away my car? I can take a bus. Take away my house? I live in an apartment. What can man do to me? So why should you be content with what you have? Because we have the promise from God. He'll never leave us nor forsake us. That we have the promise from God. We know that the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. That's your approach to it. I will not be afraid. And hey, listen, I'm like you. I mean, my week. This is a tough week for me. I worked hard and didn't make a lot. It's like, and I'm trying to think I gotta get this going. I had a lot going on, but I have And then these verses come